First things first, garlic, and lots of it. I don't think garlic is something you can ever overdo. Not for me, anyway. I always like to have everything ready to go before I turn the pots and pans on. In cooking school, they call that mise en place. And that essentially means having all your ingredients prepped before you hit the fire. I usually call it mess in place. Have your whole mess in place. Have everything ready to go. You like the jacket? It's real. My friend Pat Mahoney in New Jersey had this made for me after I entered the monastery. Had this little Sister Vicky thing embroidered on it. She thought for sure it would come in handy at some point. I wasn't as convinced then as I am now that I'd be wearing a white coat again somewhere along the way. I do wear it when we do special dinners. Sometimes the prioress asks me to cook for someone who's been unbelievably generous or helpful to the community. So I get to play chef for a night every now and then. And it's actually becoming a fundraising tool. The three of us, Sister Andrea, Sister Charlotte, and myself, were auctioned off about a month ago. And the highest bidder gets dinner with the three of us here at the convent, and guess who's cooking? Well, I won't even tell you how much we went for. A little disconcerting. I'm still planning the menu. It's got to be a really good one. But it's nice to be able to help make scholarship money for our school. I'm not very good at other methods of fundraising, so cooking is something I seem to be able to do. All right. Lots of garlic. Fortunately, the women I live with are of the lots of garlic school of thought as well. And this is going to be a very rustic kind of a pasta. So just chop everything. You don't have to mince it within an inch of its life. Just a nice rough, coarse chop. You know that the more surface area you have on your garlic, the more the flavor is going to get into whatever you're cooking. Okay. Love me some garlic. Okay. I'm just going to put that back in this nice little ramekin. Go. Don't do what I do with my knife blade, please. I'm embarrassing the people who trained me by doing that. Mushrooms. Yum. I love the portobellos. These baby ones give you about the same flavor. Again, I'm doing a very coarse chop with these babies because I'm going to cook them for a while. I want them to stay nice and meaty. Watch your fingers. And yum. My prioress doesn't like mushrooms at all. She calls them fungi, which they are. It just sounds so awful when she says it that way. All right, put these back in here. Fresh herbs add a lot of flavor to absolutely everything. So if you go to the supermarket and you're on a budget and you can't buy bunches of everything as we are, you can pick up a little plastic thing for about $1.99. It usually says soup blend, stew blend, chicken blend, whatever. I just look for 3 key ingredients: rosemary, thyme, and marjoram. So if you can find those 3, bring them home. They last a good long while in the plastic. Just strip the thyme, like you've seen lots of people do on the Food Network. By the way, this is not an attempt to take over the Food Network. This is just a new way of telling people a little bit more about monastic life. So I guess I should do that while I'm cooking. Let's see, why am I here in Richmond? I'm here in Richmond because the Benedictine Sisters of Virginia have been in Richmond since 1868, just after the Civil War. And there has always been a Benedictine sister in this city serving the church here for 140 years. And my priors feels pretty strongly about that, so we're going to continue to be present here. How did we get to the monastery at Bristow, you might wonder? Or not, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Around the turn of the century, even though vocations were going really well, and we had lots of young sisters, many of them started to die from tuberculosis, which was the disease of the poor in the city at that time. And we did live a very simple life in those days. We didn't always have the right things to eat, or proper heat, or medical care, as many people did then. And so our younger ones began to die off. So, whoops, I need this, hold on. So God took care of us, as God always does. And the monks from Belmont Abbey had just bought some land, or been given some land, up north, and they asked us to come up and start a school. So we left the city, along with its dangers to our health, and eventually we moved the mothership to Bristow, where we could have acres and acres of land and farm and raise animals and become self-sufficient.